I Saw the Devil is one of my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, so of course I will do this. But just be aware that this is a Korean horror movie and it is quite disturbing. I Saw the Devil opens up with this woman, Joo Yun, who has a flat tire, and while she's waiting for the tow truck, she is on the phone with her fiance, Soo Hyun. Through their phone call, we find that Soo Hyun is an agent for the National Intelligence Service. Joo Yun is then approached by this man who is a school bus driver named Kyung Chul, who I probably will just refer to from here on out as the killer. He offers to help her with her flat tire. She's immediately sketched out, so she says no, and he proceeds to break into the car and attack her. He then brings her home where she begs for her life, saying that she's pregnant, and he proceeds to brutally murder her and dismember her body. As he's doing that, her engagement ring falls off and falls into a drain. He scatters her body parts, which are discovered, then prompting a police investigation. The investigation is led by Chief Jang, who is Joo Yun's father. So her father and her fiance, Soo Hyun, are present at the search while her head is found, so they know it's her. And at her funeral, Soo Hyun tells her father that he vows to find the murderer and take revenge against him. And he sets out to do just that. So through Chief Jang, Soo Hyun learns that there are 4 suspects. He tracks down 2 and interrogates them, which his way of doing that is just beating the shit out of them. And he's able to rule those 2 out. So he then tracks down the home of the 3rd suspect, who is Kyung Chul, the killer. And he finds Joo Yun's wedding ring in the drain, so now he knows that this is his guy. While he's there, the killer comes home, bringing with him a schoolgirl that he just abducted. As he is assaulting her, Soo Hyun attacks him and beats him unconscious. But instead of killing him, he makes him swallow a tracker and basically tells him, like, I'll see you again. So now Soo Hyun knows where the killer is at all times. He can hear all of his conversations. So the killer wakes up, he's really banged up, he needs to go get medical attention, and he stops this taxi that offers him a ride. This might be my favorite scene of the whole movie. So the killer gets in the front seat, there's already a passenger in the back seat, and him and the driver are acting super suspicious. So the killer, though he is a piece of shit, understands that the 2 of them want to kill him or rob him or whatever. So he brutally attacks and murders them first, while the car is being driven. He throws their bodies out of the car and then later discovers in the trunk the body of the real cab driver, so the 2 of them murdered him. Everybody's just out here fucking killing everybody. So the killer gets to the clinic, his wounds are treated, but then he sees this nurse, who he proceeds to corner and SA. But while he's doing that, Soo Hyun arrives. He once again proceeds to beat the shit out of the killer, including slashing his Achilles tendon. And he makes his intentions clear to the killer that he wants to torture him for as long as possible, so this whole thing is basically a game of cat and mouse for him as a way of revenge. So the killer, now being pretty freaked out, goes to visit his friend Tae-Joo at his home. We learn that Tae-Joo is also a murderer and a cannibal, and he serves the killer a delicious meal of human flesh. So the killer is telling his friend about this guy that's been following him and just beating the shit out of him, and Tae-Joo kind of laughs and is like, oh, you must have pissed off, like, a family member of one of your victims. And that's when he finally puts together that the dude that is following him is somehow related to Joo Yun. And then who shows up to do it all again? In this really long and intense fight scene, Soo Hyun beats the shit out of both the killers as well as Tae-Joo's girlfriend. And then he has Tae-Joo and his girlfriend arrested because they are sick fucks, and he finds that they are holding girls captive and literally eating them. So they get sent to the hospital and are arrested. However, the killer is treated for his wounds by Soo Hyun's, like, kind of accomplice, I guess. Because Soo Hyun is still not done with him. He's like, stitch this guy up, I'm gonna do this shit again. However, while this is happening, the killer wakes up and overhears Soo Hyun and this guy talking about the transmitter that he put in him. So the killer is released, and now knowing that there's a tracker in him, he takes a bunch of laxatives and gets rid of it. He then plants it on a truck to throw Soo Hyun off. Meanwhile, Soo Hyun goes to visit Tae-Joo in the hospital, and Tae-Joo tells him that the killer's next plan is to go after Chief Jang and Chief Jang's other daughter, so his fiance's sister. Soo Hyun becomes enraged and just beats the shit out of Tae-Joo, again breaking his jaw. So while Soo Hyun now follows the tracker, which we know is no longer in the killer shows up to Chief Jang's house where he brutally assaults him and then brutally murders his other daughter. So now the killer feels like he's had enough. He no longer wants to get beat up by Soo Hyun. He feels like he got revenge against him, so he goes to surrender himself to police. But Soo Hyun, now knowing what he did to Chief Jang and his daughter, is like, fuck no. In this really cool scene, he breaks the door off of a car and kidnaps the killer in the middle of the street as he's trying to surrender to the police. So Soo Hyun takes the killer back to his own home and tortures him and puts him in this, like, makeshift guillotine. At this point, the killer reveals that the last words that Joo Yun said were that she's pregnant as she was begging for her life. And Soo Hyun was unaware that she was pregnant. So Soo Hyun leaves him in this trap and walks out of the room, but leaves him with a rope between his teeth, and that rope is the only thing that is keeping the guillotine blade from falling and beheading him. However, earlier in the movie, Soo Hyun paid a visit to the killer's parents and his son, who he no longer speaks to. And he got them to go visit him, and they show up right now. And when they open the door, they trigger the trap, and the blade falls and beheads him in front of his family. The final scene is Soo-hyun walking away from the house, breaking down in tears. Because yes, obviously he killed him, but he still does not have his fiancée back, and look at all of the pain and destruction that was left because he did not kill him the first time. And you're sitting there left to wonder whether you're on his side, whether you're not on his side, and just completely numb to everything as the credits roll.